I'm Lucky Dave.
I'm Ned Niederlander.
I'm Dusty Bottoms, and together we're
the Three Amigos.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the ZMAM show. We're here to talk about Chevy Chase and some of his awesome works throughout the years. What's our favorite, and a little bit about his kind of rise and fall in stardom. He got one of his biggest breakthroughs through Saturday Night Live, right?
Yeah, he was one of the original cast members on the season for about on the show for about a season and a half. I remember reading a comment, doing a little looking into it. Like, one person was saying that actually Chevy Chase, not only was he on the show, but he was one of the writers. And one person actually gave like his almost deadpan, sometimes arrogant style of delivery as one of the major reasons why SNL had staying power. So in spite of the fact that he wasn't on there for very long, I think he's widely regarded as kind of like one of those key cast members from what a lot of people think are the glory days of SNL. And some even regard him as a pretty important piece in it lasting as long as it did. But yeah, he was Weekend Update guy, did all kinds of different stuff.
And that's so interesting, too, because the fact that he was arguably one of the biggest stars to come from SNL, and to just leave like that to go, and because I think once the movie offers started coming in, I guess he saw the money, and it's like, it's time to grow and build, which, mind you, is not much different than Will Ferrell and many others that have left the show, right?
Right, and doing some SNL research, there are some people who think that Lorne Michaels, one of the big names associated with the show since its inception, sometimes will rotate cast members to keep things fresh. Like, I know, or talks about Eddie Murphy not being as reliable toward the end of his days because he was doing movies. Yeah. So whether Chevy Chase made the choice or not, there's something to be said for not having people with dueling interests on the show anyway. So I don't know that it was a bad thing for SNL that he left.
And it's very popular and already known, and I know you know a little bit of research on it too, and you talked to me a little bit about it, is also that big-time feud with awesome actor and comedian Bill Murray.
Yeah, apparently Chevy Chase and Bill Murray really did not like each other. Like, I've even, like, we'll get into Caddyshack a little bit later on. I heard that there were some things with that, but there was apparently a Bill Murray. There was a fight on the set of SNL when Chevy Chase came back and guest hosted, and Bill Murray effectively tried to play it down, but like other people watching said it escalated pretty bad, and they had to like be pulled away from each other. And Bill Murray even yelled at Chevy Chase the words "medium talent." So, so like it I mean, they did not get along. So
that's heat.
Yeah, so yeah, and I think he's had some issues with other people as well, unfortunately. But yeah, Bill Murray is one of the big names of people he's fought with.
So some of those are some of the well-known things known about Chevy Chase, and a little bit about Bill Murray there too. So we have another fun fact coming up really soon about Bill Murray and roles of what Chevy Chase could have done in the future. But let's talk about some breakout roles. So he had several movies coming out, I guess, just as early as almost 77 and 80 as well. But one of the bigger ones in that time period was one called Foul Play. And Foul Play, you're not missing a whole lot. It's a very interesting, it's kind of a cheesy slapstick drama, and it's got some action in it. It's got Goldie Hawn in there, actually.
Right.
She was, I guess, I don't want to call that her breakout role, but it was definitely one of her early works too, and she was really good in it. And Chevy Chase plays a detective. Goldie Hawn sees a murder or whatever, and it's just, like I said, all this goofy comedy in between, and it's entertaining, and especially for that time period, around those late 70s. But no doubt it made an impression, and it started escalating up from there. We talked about how I think one of the next big ones was probably, I guess, Caddyshack in 8.
Right, and like you said, he had roles that, like, for instance, Foul Play was critically acclaimed, but I think when a lot of people think Chevy Chase, they think Caddyshack. I mean, that was kind of the first role that where, like, Chevy Chase, I think, was really just like a household name. But the interesting thing is, like, I think it's fair to point that as if not either the beginning or the end of the beginning of his fame, if that makes any sense. Like, either the middle or end of his ascent, but like he had a very strong supporting cast in Caddyshack. So like, while I think he was really
Absolutely.
funny, like even Rodney Dangerfield, Bill Murray, like there were a lot of other major players in that movie. So
Yep.
I think it would have been funny without him, but I also think he had a lot of help and his supporting cast added. So like it was part of his ascent, but I also don't know how much it did to solidify Chevy Chase as like a Chevy Chase kind of movie, even though he was the main billing.
He was definitely a huge character. Ty Webb is a huge part of it because, as you go along and you get to meet Danny and some of the other characters, whatever, Ty is kind of helping Danny along, and he's just got some awesome lines in there, which again they're just kind of stupid and they're like say kind of deadpan as well. But there's a scene where Danny and him are walking down the golf course or whatever, and he's talking to Danny. He goes, "Danny, do you do drugs?" And he's like, every day. He goes, good. And he goes, so what's the problem?
Right.
And they're just having these goofy conversations. And again, like you said, arrogant style. That has usually been a lot of that kind of Chevy Chase presence. It's like arrogance and I don't know. It's like the strength of his character. It's kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah, he's very nonchalant in his delivery, and I think that's what they mean when they say deadpan. Like he's got this self assurance. And I think maybe the reason it gets characterized as arrogance is you don't even know where it's really coming from, because he has this he almost has this very average delivery,
right.
But it's intentional, and when coupled with his witty remarks and his quick comments, it's almost like he's constantly transitioning you between like looking at this very plain looking person and also recognizing that at any moment you're going to get hit with a one-liner and be like, whoa, where'd that come from?
Right.
And I think that's part of why his style works so well.
Absolutely. He's very entertaining, and there's no doubt about it. And so as his movies kind of continue to go up, he had other ones when the National Lampoon's Vacation came out, and that was around 83, if I'm not mistaken. 83, 84? 83. So awesome family. And what I like about Clark Griswold in general is just like he is that typical American dad who's just who tries to bring some excitement and happiness to his family, and let's face it, nothing ever goes right, especially with vacations and everything else. Everything goes to hell, to crap, and you get to see this unfold in front of us, and you get to see Chevy Chase ultimately lose his shit
right
when it happens. And you got to give it to the writers for doing it, because although I know Chevy Chase did some writing, I think he's much better at delivering the material than probably being the writer himself.
Yeah, and I don't know how well his writing extended past like the skit format,
Not
like
much.
and so I haven't done much research into that. But yeah, one thing I think that's significant about Vacation, like I wasn't trying to downplay his role in Caddyshack earlier. My only point was that good performance or not, and it was a great performance.
Right.
He also had I thought Rodney Dangerfield was hysterical in that movie, and Bill Murray was also very funny. And in Vacation, it was him.
It was
like
him.
in it, like I mean, like
He was
the other
actor.
characters. I mean, like maybe maybe Randy Quaid to some extent in some of the Vacation movies was there to support him, but like Chevy Chase was on a level all by himself. He had no major support from all but like one or two other people on it. And those people remember those films, 30 years later, 35 years later. So for me, like even though Caddyshack was significant, like in terms of just like Chevy Chase being a staple all by himself, like Vacation's where it started.
Yeah, it's who he is. It's his flagship series. When you have Vacation, you have European Vacation, which didn't hit off as well as I know what he wanted, because I heard that he was actually pretty displeased with how European turned out. But it's actually a really hilarious film. It's raunchy.
I like it,
and there's just a lot of fun stuff in there as well. And then of course the huge Christmas Vacation, which if you haven't watched it, you totally need to go out and see it. It's just one of the best Christmas movies out there, and maybe I think that's why some people try to stay away from it, because it's like Christmas Vacation, but it's like, hey,
it so much.
Sorry, the movie's amazing. You just you can't deny it.
No. And like I totally get the Clark Griswold, like my people, like there are still pop culture references. Like my dad, for instance, goes crazy with Christmas lights, and people call him Clark Griswold all the time. So I mean, like, we still talk about it. It's a big movie.
You got a small knot here. Here, go ahead. You just go ahead and work on that for a little bit. I like when Russ brings out the sand and the reindeer, and he's like, "Dad, where do you want these?" He's like, "Just put them down on the lawn." He's just like, just the typical kid, just like, can't stand this, and he's out there late at night. I can attest to that. I know times when I've been out there, can't get the one strand to work, and I was trying to rewire the lights and stuff. I'm just like, oh God, why do I even do Christmas lights?
Right.
But hey, it's time for the festivities. Other big movies, and just in between, Three Amigos, which I have seen, I'd say half a dozen times throughout the years. And although I haven't seen it as many times as other movies, it is a great comedy.
Yeah, and also, like, for me, like, I think Steve Martin is hysterical, don't get me wrong, but I thought the funniest moments in that movie personally were Chevy Chase moments. And, like, I don't even think he was the primary billing in it, but there were just several Dusty Bottom moments, like where he's talking to El Guapo at the end when he's in that band of bandits with everyone, or when, like, that woman is sort of kind of hitting on him and he's just completely missing the ball. Like, I don't know, he has some really, really good moments in that movie. And, like, I actually, like, love Steve Martin, big Steve Martin fan, but Chevy Chase was my favorite part of that movie, without question.
And Martin Short also very big around that time. Those three, it was a powerhouse comedian act, especially for that time. And yeah, I'm smiling so much because I can just remember certain scenes, and it's a great comedy. So again, if you've never checked out Three Amigos, go back and check that out. Some of his earlier, well, I said his mid-tier works or whatever, and it was wonderful. And like I said, Steve Martin, really good as well. And you know what? I want to compare this because I was thinking right here. I feel when you were talking about him playing similar characters, I feel that Spies Like Us. I feel that his character in that, and Dusty Bottoms in Three Amigos are very similar in a lot of ways because they were kind of like that character where like. It's like you catch him off guard all the time. Like, he's like, okay, oh, did I just do that? Or did I just do something amazing? Or I can be useful here, And it does the same thing because Dan Aykroyd in Spies Like Us, again, huge presence in that movie. In fact, I mean, ultimately, maybe even a little bit more. It can be argued. I love them both. I wouldn't even probably put it to the test. They were a powerhouse comedic duo in Spies Like Us.
I think Aykroyd was almost kind of the straight man in that movie. Like he was the guy who kind of like, acted more serious. He was more or less the brains of the operation. Like his character anyway was definitely the smarter of the two. Hence the hence the analogy to Dusty Bottoms in Three Amigos. But yeah, I think I see that. I do think that Chevy Chase's character in Spies Like Us was slightly more clever, just slightly more aware than the character in Three Amigos. But outside of that, I agree. Like, it's almost a perfect analogy.
There's a great scene in Spies Like Us. They're sitting there, and you may remember this, Adam. It's towards the end, and they're getting ready to follow. They're basically playing two agents that were sent over to do a mission, okay? But they're decoys, right? So for our audience, these guys, so Chevy Chase and Dan Aykroyd are playing decoys. They sent the real agents in, and then these two are now the decoys to try and send all the bad guys after them. And at one point, basically, the decoys, Dan Aykroyd and Chevy Chase, meet up with the actual people who are supposed to do it. And they have a little bit of space between them, and they're getting ready to follow them. And the female, Donna, and I forget her last name, but it's Dan Aykroyd's wife. She played
Donna Dixon, I think.
Donna Dixon, very attractive, a woman. And anywho's, there's a scene where he goes, "Don't you think we should follow, Dr. Boyer or whatever," which is Donna Dixon's character? He goes, "You just want to follow her." He goes, "You're following," or it's like, "You're thinking with your dick." and then Chevy Chase starts talking about things like, he goes, "Well, I mean, they it looks like they are heading in the same direction, and blah 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 blah, and then all of a sudden Dan Aykroyd's kind of sitting there, and he goes, "Well, they are seem to be going the same direction, and yeah, they could have a phrase." He goes, "Maybe your dick's not so stupid." He goes, and then Chevy Chase goes, "Well, it got me through high school."
I do remember that was.
I mean, there was great writing, and that's another point I want to make. Chevy Chase's delivery when it came to great writing, I think he did an awesome job.
Right, his timing was perfect.
His timing was perfect, and you couldn't stop the man. It was great, and his supporting cast members just helped solidify those performances. So it was really great. But like many other things, as we talk through, so those were a lot of the big ones. Oh, that, and I got it. Let's talk one last one. And did you see Fletch and Fletch Lives, Adam?
I did, and actually, I hadn't seen those for a while. Like, I didn't know about those till maybe 10 years ago. But I watched them with a buddy, and I watched them with a buddy who lives a couple of hours away, and They were hysterical. Like I like, to me, like, they're not as big a name as Vacation, for instance, but like,
Sure.
like, so ridiculously funny in my opinion. Like, just so funny. I can't even pick a favorite moment.
Yeah.
Other than maybe Song of the South and Fletch Lives. Like, I think I lost it when that happened.
And
But
they would never redo that nowadays and stuff, which they did it very tastefully. If you ever watch it again, I mean, they did it right, and I'll just leave it at that. But basically, he inherits his aunt's plantation down in the South, and he heads down there. And so Fletch, who is Fletch? Fletch is a columnist. He basically writes under a column called Jane Doe because he writes for sketchy material, talking about the city or corrupt politicians and so forth, and doesn't want people to know who he is. So he's basically a private investigator writer, and
Yeah.
and anywho's, but his, like he said, his situations he gets caught up in, and it's like these little side story where he's investigating something, and all of a sudden he gets pulled into this, and he starts to investigate. And anyways, like you said, the first movie, Fletch, absolutely great. I love Fletch Lives. I do think Fletch is probably a stronger movie, but all the same. It's definitely all Chevy, and his style in those movies, his one-liners, and he doesn't take anything seriously. The character Fletch doesn't take anything seriously, and he's always making up all these names, right, and aliases.
And he comes up with them on the spot, and you're just like, where did you get that from?
Yeah, like I don't know. In Fletch Lives, he's Nostradamus. He's Tyler Poon or something like that. I mean, he's a Comanche Indian name or something like that. I mean, he's got all these random. Oh, I remember when he went to go visit the parents of Ellen Stanwyck and verse. He said it's Harry S. Truman. I think he said. And the dad's talking to him. He goes, he goes, Truman. He goes, that's like President Truman. He goes, yeah. My parents were a big fan. I mean, it's just. I mean, again, it's kind of stupid humor, but I mean, once you get rolling and you get to know Fletch, I swear, I mean, you fall in love with this character so fast that, I mean, you feel like you fully know him, I think, within the first 20 minutes of the film, and you're just wanting more and more. So, Chevy Chase, a great comedian, but like all great things must sometimes start to fall. And we were looking up a few fun facts over Chevy Chase, and one of the ones I just found was that, and I did not know this, is that for Ghostbusters, he was offered the role of Bill Murray's Peter Venkman, and he let it go, and Bill Murray. And let's face it, Adam, I don't think Ghostbusters would be the same without Bill Murray.
Yeah, it's kind of a bizarre thing because it's yet another instance. Like, Bill Murray was kind of one of the people who was thought to come in and fill the void when Chevy Chase left SNL, and then here's another instance where Bill Murray gets big because Chevy Chase moves on. And not to take anything away from Bill Murray, and I'm right, like, you're right. I'm on this show with you because, like you, I also love Chevy Chase. I think he's a fantastic comedian.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is hard to envision anyone other than Bill Murray as Peter Venkman. I just don't see it. I don't see it. So as much as I like Chase, maybe we're blessed that he didn't take it.
I think we are, and this happens all the time, and we'll be talking in the future, actors and movies that we saw too, like other actors that were up for the role. And if you ever even try to imagine what that movie would be like, you just feel like, no, there's no way. In fact, so much more. Well, one other one we found, I cannot believe this. He was offered, and he gave up the role of Forrest Gump in 1994. I mean, to lose Tom Hanks. Go ahead. What do you think on that one?
I think you maybe have a few more comedic moments in Forrest Gump with Chevy Chase in there. Tom Hanks is capable of being funny. I think that Tom Hanks is such a dynamic actor, though, that I don't see how that's a better movie with Chase in it, just because he brought so much to that role.
Yeah.
And I think you laugh a little harder, but I think maybe you get a little less out of it if Chevy Chase is the main guy. Maybe still a good movie, though.
Absolutely. And I think it's the drama. I don't know if Chevy Chase would be capable of bringing that emotional drama because, I mean, you really, there were times when you felt bad for Forrest, and I don't feel that Chevy Chase could. And by the way, I didn't read up on a whole lot on it. That could be a very big reason on why he gave up the role. Maybe he knew, I'm not going to be able to deliver this emotional side of this character. Because let's face it, Chevy is heart and soul the comedy. That's what
Right.
he sticks to. And so much so that as his decline started to continue on, there was a couple other flicks that I just wanted to mention, and they're not huge, but if you ever get a chance to see them, or if you have seen them, Nothing But Trouble. And it was another solid cast. It went awry. And if you ever get a chance, go on IMDb. There's a bunch of fun facts about Nothing But Trouble. But basically, it was starring Chevy Chase, Demi Moore. It had Dan Aykroyd in it once again. And again,
Nice.
they kind of came. It even had John Candy. It was a powerhouse like crew, but the story was kind of goofy. The writing was okay. So basically, he is a lawyer, I believe. Yes, he is a lawyer, and he meets Demi Moore, very attractive woman, kind of in trouble, and she needs a ride into the city for such and such. So he decides to drive her in this nice BMW or whatever, and they're taking a couple of their Chevy Chase's friends, and they get pulled over in this small nowhere town, area outside of New York, and basically get semi-arrested or detained for speeding, or I think speeding and running a stoplight, and it just starts to unfold from there. So basically they're kind of making up their own rules in this small town, and ultimately they're like killing people, that they choose, or bad elements of society. And Dan Aykroyd plays the judge, but it's a comedy though, and it's almost so silly of a premise, and even as I say it there, it's kind of like, really? I mean, you would watch this? But again, it's Chevy Chase, so I was curious, and it was fun growing up. I saw it as a younger boy, because I grew up on The Fletch. I grew up on, Animal House and all those types of movies, and this was just another one of those in the early 90s. But it did start to show his fall. The movies just weren't selling, and Cops and Robertsons was another one. I'm not going to tell you the whole premise, but basically Jack Palance and a couple other actors, decent premise, but again, just could not sell.
Yeah, and even later than that, like I know within the last 10 years, he had a recurring role on the show Community. I think he was intended to be a main character, but the reports were he had enough conflicts with the writer of the show, and I don't know. Actually, I don't remember if it was the writer or the director, but he had enough conflicts with basically the people calling the shots on the show that he didn't end up being a reliable cast member, which is a shame because like he was actually really good in that role. But I think later in his career, Community is probably the most high profile example. I think his demons started to catch up to him a little bit.
Yes.
The kind of the slightly lower quality of movies in the 90s, coupled with the fact that all the advent of the World Wide Web and all these rumors about him starting to spread. And I mean, he really has the reputation. Funny guy, but really has a reputation as someone who's a real bear to work with. And
a jackass in general, I hear.
Right.
And, it's a shame when you find out political views and how people are, because it starts to taint your view of the person. Now, luckily for me, and I think I could say for you as well, I don't think it ruins our sight of what he's done in his great works. I mean, great cinema is great cinema, and I have a hard time, and I'd like to, in the future, maybe talk Mel Gibson in some things, which is hated by many. But anyways, not to get off a tangent, but I think that's going to be one of our future videos, because the man's a great actor, but no doubt has had his shortcomings as a person overall, and other things in his life too.
Said some very controversial things.
Very. But you see, as they get older and they get more they get bolder, and they just can't learn to shut those mouths. Yeah, just gotta keep it going. And so, don't forget about Vegas Vacation too. Was another one of his ones that kind of gave him that kind of blip, high rise, and then, but again, just couldn't continue. I think the final nail in the coffin is when I actually saw him, for me at least, knowing that his career is pretty much toasted. And by the way, he's an older man. I mean, he's had a great career. But when I saw him in Vacation, so that was the newest Vacation movie, where basically it's Audrey and Russ grown up. I think Chevy Chase they stopped by their house, the young ones stopped by the parents' house, and Beverly D'Angelo was in it again, which that was awesome, because she's a staple character, very staple character, and that's what I think of too when I think of Vacations. And I think Chevy was in it for all bit of maybe 2 minutes, and I don't even think it was that, Adam. And it was just, his lines weren't very strong, and it was just like, wow, but maybe that was part of the point, just to show that, it's the closing of that franchise, and it was just kind of done.
Yeah, passing the torch, I guess.
Passing the torch. So I was just kind of looking at the outline here just a little bit, but Chevy Chase, amazing actor, had great works. Talking about, if you haven't seen any of these movies, talking Fletch Lives, Caddyshack, Three Amigos. Adam, what are your big ones? Give me top two, because it's hard. It's hard for a top one. Give me your top two. If you're like, go out, watch these two movies, and that will give you Chevy Chase in a nutshell. Go ahead. What you got?
I'm actually going to say the Fletch series. I'm going to say Fletch and Fletch Lives. I think those are my two favorite Chevy Chase movies. And I'm not going to be upset about anybody disagreeing with me, because he's got other fantastic roles.
That's right.
But I think in those two movies, he stands alone. Both movies have really interesting plots. I think you're right that the movie in the first plot is more interesting. I think that the comedy in the second movie, though, is very, very good.
It is very good. It is extremely good.
But yeah, I think if you just want signature Chevy Chase, no distractions, I say just watch the Fletch series. That's me.
Okay, and I have three, but I'm going to keep it to two, because I've watched these three movies equally as much. But if I had to say, I'd say Vacation. Wally World, the Wally World Vacation. I think it's just one of his most amazing, funny roles, and you just got a great cast in there, and showing him as a dad and this and that. So, great comedy. And okay, my two I'm trying to decide between is either Three Amigos. Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry, not Three Amigos. It's either Spies Like Us or oh god, what was the other one I just had in mind? It was the first Fletch.
Okay.
Oh god, I've seen each of them. Just to keep it up a little fresh, I will say Spies Like Us, because I really
solid choice.
I really love Spies Like Us. Again, I think he was, as much of a star. He was also a co-star in that with Dan Aykroyd sharing the screen. But they had equal time, and he's just a goofball as he is in the ones you mentioned as well. So we hope you guys enjoy this conversation about Chevy Chase and some of these movies, and maybe you didn't know about some of these comedies. If you didn't, get out there and check them out. Come back out and leave us a comment. Make sure to like and subscribe if you are enjoying this. This is our second episode so far having Adam out here, and it's going great. We're going to bring much more material to you as the weeks continue on. We'll try and find some fun stuff. If there's something you would like us to maybe talk about, put it in the comments. We'll maybe check it out and consider it for a future episode. But other than that, this is the ZMAM Show, and we will see you guys at the next review. See you guys.